This is a story about two dads. One was a brilliant man with a PhD and a secure, high-paying job. The other never finished 8th grade. Both worked hard and earned good incomes. Yet one died struggling with bills, while the other became one of the richest men in Hawaii, leaving behind an empire. This is the story Robert Kiyosaki tells about his childhood. One man was his real father, his poor dad. The other was his best friend's father, his rich dad. Whether Rich Dad was real or just a parable is debatable. But the lessons are undeniably powerful. These two fathers gave Robert very different advice on money. Poor Dad said, "The love of money is the root of all evil." Rich Dad countered, "The lack of money is the root of all evil." Poor Dad urged him to find a stable job. Rich Dad urged him to learn how to buy or build companies. One preached saving every dollar, the other, investing. Caught between these views, Robert had to choose. He listened to Rich Dad. In this video, we're breaking down the lessons Rich Dad taught, the secrets the wealthy pass to their kids to build generational wealth, while the poor and middle class stay stuck in the rat race. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. It all started when a 9-year-old Robert wanted to get rich. He and his best friend Mike, Rich Dad's son, tried making money by melting down old toothpaste tubes into lead coins. When Rich Dad saw their counterfeiting operation, he laughed and offered a real lesson. He gave them a job at one of his stores for a measly 10 cents an hour. After weeks of hard work, Robert was furious. He felt used, underpaid, and was ready to quit. That's exactly what Rich Dad wanted. He explained the first rule. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. He said most people's lives are controlled by two emotions: fear and greed. Fear of being broke makes you work hard, and greed makes you desire more once you get paid, trapping you in a pattern. Then, Rich Dad cut their pay to zero. He explained that the best lessons are learned when you're forced to see opportunities, not just a paycheck. Working for free, Robert and Mike noticed the store was tossing out old comic books. They asked to have them, started a comic book library in Mike's basement, and charged other kids admission. Suddenly, they were making money without physically working for every cent. Their comic books, their new asset, were working for them. This is the heart of the first lesson. The rat race is trading your time for money to pay for ever-increasing bills. The rich don't do that. They build or buy assets that make money for them, even while they sleep. Their goal isn't a higher salary, it's freedom. Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? So, how do you get money to work for you? You need financial literacy. Rich Dad's second lesson is all about knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. His rule was simple. An asset puts money in my pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of my pocket. The rich acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities they think are assets. Let's talk about the biggest one, your house. Poor Dad called his house his biggest asset. Rich Dad said, "Your house is a liability." Why? Because your home takes money out of your pocket every month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, you name it. It doesn't pay you. You pay for it. Now, a rental house that puts cash in your bank account each month after expenses, that house would be an asset. Your car? A liability. That new phone you're making payments on? A liability. They all drain your wallet. Real assets are things like rental properties, dividend-paying stocks, a business you own that runs without you, or royalties from a book or music. It all comes down to cash flow. As Kiyosaki says, the rich focus on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements. A poor person's paycheck goes to expenses. A middle-class person's bigger paycheck goes to liabilities like mortgages and car loans. But the rich focus on building their asset column. The income from their assets pays for their expenses, and any extra cash is reinvested into more assets. As Rich Dad said, rich people buy luxuries last, while the poor and middle class tend to buy them first. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. Rich Dad's third lesson was, to become financially secure, a person needs to mind their own business. This doesn't mean quitting your job. It means knowing the difference between your profession and your business. What you do for a paycheck versus what builds your wealth. Your profession pays the bills. Your business is your asset column. Kiyosaki writes, "Financial struggle is often directly the result of people working all their lives for someone else." He tells the story of Ray Kroc, the man who built McDonald's. When speaking to MBA students, he'd ask, "What business am I in?" They'd say, "The hamburger business." Kroc would reply, "No. My business is real estate." While McDonald's sells burgers, their real business, their asset column, is the land under almost every one of those golden arches. So, Rich Dad's advice was, keep your day job, but start buying real assets, not liabilities. Use your income to buy a dividend-paying stock or start a small side project. Your business is the collection of assets you're building. Focus on that until its income surpasses your living expenses. When that happens, you're free. Lesson 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. This is where things get interesting. Rich Dad explained that to build serious wealth, you have to understand two things: taxes and corporations. Kiyosaki said, "My rich dad just played the game smart, and he did it through corporations, the biggest secret of the rich." Let's look at the United States for a moment. Federal income tax became permanent in 1913 and was originally sold as a tax on the rich. But as the government's appetite grew, the tax soon hit the middle class and the poor. The rich, however, used their greatest legal tool to protect their wealth: the corporation. A corporation isn't a big building, it's just a legal file folder that changes the rules of the game. Rich Dad explained the difference in cash flow. Employees earn, pay taxes, then spend. The rich with corporations earn, spend, then pay taxes. Think about that. A business owner can pay for things like business-related travel, car expenses, or equipment before taxes are calculated. An employee pays for all of that with after-tax money. Rich Dad called this one of the biggest legal tax loopholes that the rich use. This isn't about illegal tax evasion. It's about understanding the tax code, which legally rewards business owners and investors. Kiyosaki says, "A person who understands the tax advantages and protections provided by a corporation can get rich so much faster than someone who is an employee." It's like the difference between someone walking and someone flying. The lesson is to become financially intelligent enough to understand how the system legally works. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. For most people, making money is limited to a paycheck. Rich Dad taught that our greatest asset is our mind. As he said, if it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth. The fifth lesson is that the rich invent money by seeing opportunities others miss. This is about creating value from creativity and financial intelligence. While most people are taught to avoid risk, the rich learn to manage risk. Kiyosaki states, "In the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold." Imagine a rundown house nobody wants. An average person sees a money pit. A savvy investor sees a deal, negotiates a low price, finds funding for repairs, and then sells it for a profit, often without using their own money. They invented money by structuring a smart deal. This skill isn't taught in school. It's developed by getting in the game. Rich Dad hated the phrase, "I can't afford it," insisting it shuts down your brain. He taught Robert to ask a more powerful question: how can I afford it? That question, he said, opens up possibilities, excitement, and dreams, forcing you to get creative. Inventing money is about cultivating this mindset. It's seeing a slow market not as a crisis, but as an opportunity. It's about turning a problem into a multi-million-dollar asset. Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Poor Dad, the academic, valued job security above everything. Rich Dad's advice was the total opposite. The book puts it this way: job security meant everything to my educated dad. Learning meant everything to my rich dad. This is the core of the sixth lesson. Work to learn. Don't work for money. Rich Dad saw that hyper-specialization is a trap. If your job disappears, so does your income. He advised, you want to know a little about a lot, building wealth on a broad base of skills. After the military, Kiyosaki took a sales job at Xerox. Why? He was terrified of rejection and wanted to learn how to sell, the most important skill in business. He learned to handle hearing no, a skill that made him millions. He also learned marketing and management to see how a business really works. The key skills for financial success are sales, marketing, communication, negotiation, and leadership. If you can lead people and sell an idea, you'll never be poor. School teaches us to be specialists, but the real world rewards people who can connect the dots between different fields. Don't be afraid to take a pay cut for a job that teaches you a critical new skill. The short-term dip in income is nothing compared to the long-term gain in your financial intelligence. Even with all these lessons, most people get stuck. Rich Dad said it comes down to 5 roadblocks. First is fear. Most fear losing money more than they desire wealth. Winners see failure as feedback. Losers see it as defeat. Second is cynicism. Doubt and Chicken Little voices talk people out of opportunities. Learn to analyze, not criticize. Third is laziness. Not just couch potatoes, but the laziness of being too busy to manage money. Rich Dad's cure: a little greed. Ask, what's in it for me? Let that vision fuel action. Fourth is bad habits. Most people pay bills first. Rich Dad always paid himself first, forcing himself to be resourceful enough to cover the rest. Fifth is arrogance. Every time I have been arrogant, I have lost money, Rich Dad said. Arrogance is ignorance plus ego. Humility builds wealth. Arrogance destroys it. The lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad are about more than just money. They present a choice. Will you follow the path of working for money or the path of having money work for you? Will you acquire liabilities that make you look rich or assets that make you truly rich? It all starts with financial education. It gives you the power to control your future and build a life of freedom. The lessons are simple, but putting them into practice takes a new way of thinking and the courage to act. So, the real question is, which dad's advice will you follow? What's the #1 lesson you're going to apply starting today? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and if you got value from this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more summaries to help you build your wealth. Remember, the most powerful asset you have is your mind. This is Minecraft, where ideas become action, and action becomes your future.